I want to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with yourself when you answer it. If you got better, if you healed, if you grew, if you stepped into the fullest version of who you are, would the people around you feel it? Would your family feel it? Your team, your community, the people who look up to you? If the answer is yes, then this space was made for you. Welcome to the Leadership Lab, presented by When the Mind Clicks. I'm Tiera Click, and I suggest you go grab a pen and paper because we're about to dive in. When most people hear the word leader, they think of CEO, a coach, a pastor, a manager, someone with a title. But I want to offer you a different picture. Leadership is not just a title. It's not just a position. Leadership is influence, and every single one of us is influencing someone. The question isn't whether you're a leader. The question is, are you trying to shape yourself to help your impact on others? If your growth impacts others, if your healing creates a ripple, if your becoming makes the people around you better, then you are exactly who I'm talking to. For the parent, the entrepreneur, the teacher, the athlete, the person who just came home from a big transition, the one who's been showing up for everyone else and hasn't yet learned to show up for themselves. I want you to write this down on that paper that you just grabbed. Who in your life would benefit most from the best version of you? Write their name down, keep that name close. That's your why for this entire journey. We've been taught that leadership happens in boardrooms, on the basketball court, in classrooms, in organizations, which it does, okay? Yes, it does happen there, and I support y'all, okay? But leadership also happens at the dinner table, in the mirror, in the conversation you have with yourself at 2 a.m. when no one's watching, to your friend group who tends to come to you for that extra advice. Here's what I learned and what research backs up. You cannot lead others further until you've filled and led yourself. Self-leadership is not a pit stop on the way to leading others. It is the work. It's the foundation. Everything else is just built on top of it. What we're building here is not just better leaders in the traditional sense. We are building people who know themselves so well, who operate from such a grounded, authentic place that the entire system around them begins to shift. When one person blooms, the culture blooms, okay? Drop in the comments, what's one area of your life where you feel like you haven't been leading well? Not to shame yourself, just name it, okay? We're getting a vantage point on this situation, and naming it is the first act of leadership. Here's something I want you to understand. Most people are not failing because they lack talent or drive or even desire to do better. They're failing to reach their full impact because they don't know themselves well enough to get out of their own way. That's what we're here for, okay? Nobody taught us how to identify what we're feeling, why we're reacting the way we do, or how our inner world is shaping our outer world. We were handed responsibilities without the tools. Busy is not the same thing as growing. Producing is not the same thing as evolving. A lot of us are working hard in the wrong direction because we never stop to ask, who am I? And is the way I'm operating aligned with that? Here's the truth. The click doesn't just happen to you. You create conditions. The click doesn't just happen to you. You create the conditions for it. That's what this is all about. What I've found is that through psychology, through neuroscience, through faith, lived experience, there is a path, okay? It's not a straight line, but it is a path. And it starts with 3 things: awareness, understanding, and finding the solutions that actually fit you. Welcome to the Leadership Lab. This is a weekly space, a lab, because we're doing real work in here. We come here together to recognize and improve our impact, starting from the inside out. Our mission is to hone in on our identities, to step into authenticity, to improve our willingness to not only be seen, but to be experienced, and to learn to live in a way where we know ourselves so well that we can operate better in every single room that we walk in. Every episode in this series fall under one of the 3 stages of growth. Stage 1 is awareness. You can't change what you can't see. So, of course, we start there. Stage 2, understanding. Once you see it, you have to understand why it's there. What's the root? What's the pattern? What's the science behind it? Stage 3, solutions. Then, and only then, we find what works for you. Not a generic fix, not someone else's blueprint, your path. And we don't approach this just from one angle. We pull from all 3 wells that we discussed earlier: psychology, understanding the mind, behavior, and emotional patterns; cognitive science, that includes neuroscience, the science of how the brain works, how beliefs are formed, how to change and actually impact the events around you on a neurological level. Thinkers like Dr. Joe Dispenza have done incredible work here and also talk about quantum involvement. And we also talk about personal development, faith, lived experience, because data matters, but so does the story. So does what you've been through, what you've walked through. So does the dimension of purpose and spirit, okay? We bring all 3 together because when you do that, that's when the real breakthroughs happen. Which one of these 3 wells resonates with you most right now? Psychology, neuroscience, personal development, lived experience? Drop it in the comments. I want to know who's in the room. Next, I want to paint a picture of what's possible. Not someday, not if everything goes perfectly, but when you do this work, when you show up week after week, you do the real thing. There's a moment, and you'll know when it happens, where something shifts inside of you, where something that used to confuse you suddenly makes sense, where a pattern you've been stuck in for years becomes visible to you for the first time. And when it does, something unlocks. That's what we call the click. When the mind clicks. And when the mind clicks, you bloom. Not in a perfect, overnight, Instagram highlight kind of way, but in a real, sustainable, I finally know who I am kind of way. You start making decisions from a different place. You start communicating differently. You start showing up in your relationships, your work, your leadership as someone people can actually feel. And here's the part that really gets me. When you bloom, it doesn't just stop with you. You become the drum, and the beat of that drum, the liberation in it, ripples out into your family, your team, your community, your culture. That's what we're really building here. Not just better individuals, a better culture, one bloom at a time. Every week in the Leadership Lab, you are going to walk away with something to take with you. A theme to sit with, a question to answer, an assignment to work on, because growth doesn't just happen from watching. Okay. Also, we have journals on sale, Coach Joy journals, so you can take notes on all my workshops, videos, TikToks, etc. But the journey happens by applying. This week, I want you to take some time, quiet time, just you, and answer these 3 questions on that paper that you grabbed. Who am I when no one is watching and nothing is required of me? Not my role, not my title, not what I do for others. Who am I? How do I think I show up? And is there any gap in between that, right? In between who I am and how I actually show up, or who I think I am? And what is one thing about yourself that, if you understood it better, would make you feel like a more effective leader in any area of your life? Don't rush these, sit with them. Come back to them. And if you want to share any of your answers, the comments are a safe space. This community grows together. All right. I want to be clear about something. This isn't just a YouTube channel. My TikTok's not just a TikTok. This is a lab, a community, a culture. And every person who does the work, every person who shows up, who engages, who grows, is a part of building something bigger than themselves. So if this resonated with you today, if something in here made you feel seen or something clicked, even a little bit, you're already in the right place. Next week, we are going to be going deeper. We're going to start with the first stage of awareness, like I shared, follow with understanding, and explore solutions to very specific themes and topics. And we're going to be looking at something most people have never been taught to see about themselves. Until then, do the assignment. Keep that name close from earlier in the video, and remember, When the mind clicks, you bloom. And when you bloom, the whole culture feels it. I'll see you in the lab.